Hi everyone, Alice Brown and Lady V here with One Stop Dragon Shop. We are here today to go over a show we just got finished with this last weekend, Sunday, and that was the Geek and Grub
Gaming Edition.
This was an interesting show because we had torrential downpours the day before.
Talk about Swamp City.
Yes. We persevered through it and everything turned out good. So,
I have a nice little saying when you're in North Carolina that you have a spring monsoon season and a fall and winter monsoon season. We are currently entering the spring and summer monsoon season.
We're going to break this down into two areas. The first is from a spectator point of view or visitor point of view, and then we're going to go a little bit behind the scenes to the vendor point of view and some of the situations that we were up against and overcame. So let's get into it. We've got lots of pictures to share and video clips to share with you. We do want to take the time to do a special shout out to Ricky the DJ, who was just phenomenal. Ricky, you brought your A+ game.
Definitely A++ game.
Yeah,
I know at one point you and I were jigging out at the booth to Bee Gees, Taylor Swift, Whitney Houston.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Really good music.
Yeah. We also, there was a lot to do for families that came out, whether it be adults or children. We had Sword Circle out, who did a fantastic job giving demonstrations. Life-size Hungry Hippo.
That was hysterical to watch.
I
think it was mostly for the kids, but we had quite a few adults and teenagers that decided we need to relive our childhood today.
Yes, we did, and that was really fun. Of course, a special shout out to Erin, the coordinator of this event. She is fantastic.
She is. She did a wonderful job.
We also had Raleigh Retro Games out there. They brought out a lot of your old-fashioned, like Nintendo games and things like that for everybody to play, and I heard a lot of good comments about that. A lot of people had fun doing that. We also want to give a special shout-out to our neighbors, the Haunted Underwoods. We had a really good time with them and continued the party after the show over at McDonald's right around the corner because we were all starving, so we went around the corner afterwards and met and had a nice conversation with them. They're sweethearts. And we got to see some old friends that we originally met last year at another show down at the coast. Yeah. Fizzy Friends Bath Bombs. And that was so nice to be able to catch up with them. And see their progress for the past year and how well they're doing. They were fantastic. We also, Stephen with Extra Life is the ones that ran the Hungry Hippo. And they are dedicated to raising money to help Duke's Children's Center. So special shout out to each one of those.
I will also be uploading the QR code on the screen for donations as they are still raising money for children with Duke's Hospital Center. So definitely, if you can find the time to go give them a small donation, that would be much appreciated.
Now we're going to go over from a vendor point of view. This was the first show for many of the vendors, and unfortunately, it showed.
Murphy's Law was in full swing.
Yes, it really was. Things started, I think, 24 hours prior to the show. I think we mentioned earlier we had a downpour Saturday. It rained pretty much all day long, so
the ground was nice and mushy.
Yes, I mean there was areas that you just squashed and just squish.
There was one part that I walked through that thankfully I actually wore boots out to this show because otherwise I was going to do a slip and slide.
Oh,
that's how muddy that section I walked through was. It was just like whoop.
We also dealt with a couple injuries. I know the Aaron, the coordinator, and one of the other vendors both hurt their back the day before. So that did not help matters. We had one vendor that had a flat tire on the way in and they ran late. One vendor that had their tent didn't go up right and they ran broken tent.
Another vendor forgot their weights, which yesterday was extremely windy.
Yes, it was. We spent the entire day trying to hold down, especially our stickers. Our stickers just went flying every time we turned around. Despite all this, I have never had a show where the vendors came together as one to lift one another up as well as we did at that show. I was so, it was beautiful. There's no other word to describe it. It was just beautiful.
This show was definitely a very wholesome vibe for all the vendors that were there, and I noticed that several of the other vendors also mentioned the same thing. A very humble vibe among everybody. The ones that forgot their weights. You know, everybody was scrambling. Okay, I've got a couple extra weights I can lend you. And then this one's over here. I've got a couple extra weights I can lend you. And by the time, within 5 or 10 minutes, that tent that had no weights was completely weighted down and everything was fine.
Yeah, we've done that before where we, you know, if a neighbor forgets their weights, we can help tie their tent
To our own
tent, because we, you know, quite often carry a lot of weights because we've learned things the hard way through a few mishaps of our own.
Yeah, our neighbors next to us, the Haunted Woods, they forgot their clamps for their tablecloths, and so their tablecloth was just getting drenched with mud. And thankfully, I always carry extra, and I was like, here you go, I've got extra. Let's keep rolling.
So it was a beautiful experience. It was very humbling and beautiful at the same time to see everybody come together. And because of that, the vibe out there at that show was just phenomenal.
It was.
It was fantastic. We had a good turnout. Everybody, you know, kept on a very high note. And it was wonderful. It really was. So it was a fantastic show. If you missed it, fear not. This is a show that we are at every single month. It is at Fred Fletcher Park in Raleigh, downtown Raleigh, North Carolina. The next show will be April 7th, and it is from 12 to 4.
And it's fantasy
themed. And, you know, you guys know, One Stop Dragon Shop, that's our...
Where fantasy becomes a reality.
Yeah, exactly. So we are looking so forward to this show. If you were at Sunday's show and your picture is up in this video, feel free to tag yourself, and we will see you next month.